You already know when something feels off. The story changes slightly the second time around. The eyes shift for just a moment. The answer comes too fast or not fast enough. Your gut says something is wrong, but your mind keeps second-guessing itself. Today, we are going to change that. Because lying is not random. It follows patterns. Psychological patterns that the human brain almost cannot avoid when it is hiding the truth. And once you learn to see them, you cannot unsee them. This is dark psychology explained. How to tell if someone is lying to you. The first thing you need to understand is why lying is so hard on the brain. When you tell the truth, your brain simply retrieves a memory. It is effortless. It is automatic. But when someone lies, their brain has to do three things at the same time. It has to suppress the truth. It has to construct a believable story. And it has to monitor your reaction, adjusting in real time to make sure you believe them. That is an enormous amount of cognitive load. And under that pressure, the brain leaks. It leaks through words, through the body, through timing, through emotion. And that leakage is exactly what we are going to learn to read. The first signal is what psychologists call a decrease in detail. When someone is telling the truth about something that happened, they naturally include irrelevant details. The color of the car, what they were wearing, a random thought they had in the middle of it. Truth has texture, it has noise, because real memories are messy and full of things that do not matter. But liars construct stories with a goal. They only include what they need you to believe. So when someone gives you an answer that is unusually clean, unusually simple, with no irrelevant details at all, that is your first signal. Real experiences leave behind clutter. Fabricated ones do not. The second signal is something called distancing language. Pay close attention to the pronouns a person uses when they are talking about something they may be lying about. Honest people own their stories. They say, I did this. I was there. I felt that. But liars unconsciously try to create psychological distance between themselves and the lie. So they start using language like, that did not happen, or that situation was handled, or mistakes were made. They remove themselves from the sentence. They stop saying, I. Bill Clinton did this famously. He said, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. He did not say her name. He used the phrase, that woman, instead of Monica, which is how you refer to someone you know. Distance in language almost always signals distance from the truth. The third signal is over-explanation without being asked. Liars are terrified of not being believed, so they overcompensate. They give you more information than you asked for. They explain their reasoning when you never questioned it. They add qualifiers like, I swear, or I am being completely honest with you, or you have to believe me. Here is what is dark about this. Honest people rarely feel the need to convince you they are honest. They simply tell you what happened. But someone carrying a lie has internal guilt, and that guilt drives them to perform honesty instead of just being honest. When someone is working too hard to seem trustworthy, that effort itself is a warning sign. The fourth signal is in the face, and it is one of the most powerful tools in psychology. Paul Ekman spent decades studying what he called micro-expressions. These are involuntary flashes of emotion that cross the face in less than 1/5 of a second. They cannot be fully controlled. They happen before the conscious mind can intervene. A person can smile and say everything is fine, but in the fraction of a second before that smile, their face may flash fear, or contempt, or anger. The most common micro-expression that appears during deception is contempt. A slight, one-sided curl of the lip. It often means the person feels superior to you in that moment. They are getting away with something, and some part of them knows it. You may have seen this before without being able to name it. That tiny flicker that made you feel uneasy, but you could not explain why. Now you can. The fifth signal is what happens when you ask an unexpected question. Liars prepare. They rehearse a version of events in their mind before the conversation happens. So when the conversation goes exactly as they expected, they are smooth, calm, and composed. But the moment you ask something they did not prepare for, the mask slips. You will see a sudden pause, a longer than normal delay before answering. Sometimes they repeat your question back to you to buy time. Sometimes they answer a slightly different question than the one you asked. Sometimes they get irritated, not because your question was offensive, but because their brain is scrambling. Detectives and interrogators use this on purpose. They ask simple, unexpected questions about minor details. What were you wearing? What did you eat that day? Which direction did you come from? Innocent people generally answer without hesitation. Guilty people stumble because the story they prepared did not include those details. The sixth signal is in the body, but not where most people look. Everyone knows to watch the eyes. But experienced liars know that too, so they control their eye contact deliberately. They will actually hold eye contact slightly too long, overcorrecting because they have heard that liars look away. Instead, watch the lower body, the feet, the legs, the torso. The limbic brain, which is the oldest emotional part of your brain, controls these movements involuntarily. When someone is uncomfortable or wants to escape a situation, their feet will often point toward the nearest exit. Their body will lean slightly away from you, even if their face leans in. Their legs may bounce or fidget. The body is almost impossible to completely control. While the liar is managing their face and their voice, their lower half is quietly telling the truth. The seventh signal is emotional timing. Liars get the order wrong. When something emotional happens in real life, the emotion comes first, and the expression follows naturally. You receive bad news, and your face falls before you even process the words. But a liar who is performing an emotion has to think about it first. So the expression comes slightly after the words instead of with them. If someone tells you something terrible happened and the sadness appears a beat too late, that delay is a signal. Genuine emotion cannot be scheduled. It arrives before the performance does. Now here is what most people get wrong about all of this. None of these signals alone proves anything. A nervous person who is telling the truth will show some of these signs. A skilled sociopath will show almost none of them. What you are looking for is clusters, 2 or 3 signals appearing together, especially when combined with a baseline. Baseline means knowing how a person normally behaves, how fast they normally speak, how they normally use their hands, how much detail they normally include in a story. When something deviates from their baseline in multiple ways at the same time, that is when your instinct should sharpen. Because here is the deeper truth that dark psychology teaches. Most people are not as unreadable as they think. The human brain is wired for connection and truth. Deception goes against its natural state, and so the body resists. It protests quietly. Through a hesitation, a flicker, a word choice, a foot that points toward the door. You were already picking up on these signals before you ever watched this video. That is what your gut feeling actually is. It is your unconscious mind processing these signals faster than your conscious mind can keep up. This video has just given you the language for what you were already seeing. Trust that. If this video helped you understand the hidden language of deception, comment the signal that surprised you most. And subscribe to Into the Psych for more videos on dark psychology, human behavior, body language, and the patterns most people never learn to see. See you in the next one.